Tabalanza suggests. Now, I wonder who Mr. Tabalanza is. How does it relate to other cognitive processes? So, think about the question. So, that's my first suggestion to you. Think about the question. What are the keywords in the question? And what is being asked? What is being asked is your cognitive processes and the cognition. And now, based on your studies of the theories of language acquisition, we have behavioral or behaviorism, we have cognitivism, we also have social interactionism. Those are the three major theories of language acquisition. Based on your understanding of cognitivism, what is the best answer here? Okay? The best answer here is the first choice, okay? By being influenced by other cognitive processes. So why the first choice? The keyword or the operative word here, if I may underline, 1 second. Okay. Influenced by other cognitive processes. Now, what are these other cognitive processes that we are talking about? We are talking about memory. Okay? That's one cognitive process. Another is perception. Okay? What else? Problem solving. Another cognitive process. Now, these cognitive processes, according to studies, influence or also have an impact on language. Okay? They also have an impact on language. So for example, memory. Does memory have an impact or an influence on language? Definitely. It has. If you remember, we have different types of memory. We have short-term, we have long-term memory, and some other types of memory which are trivial. But for now, think of long-term and short-term memory. Imagine if you only have short-term memory, would you be able to learn English and sustain it for a long time? Of course, because if you only have a short-term memory, even a simple word like you can be easily forgotten. Okay? So that's how important is memory to language acquisition. So memory, problem solving, perception, influence language. Why not the second and why not the third? By being independent from other cognitive processes. So you mean to say language does not depend on the other cognitive processes I mentioned, like problem solving? Does it not depend on that too? No, just from the looks of it, no. The answer is no. Because people are going to be faced with challenges. And challenges, for them to overcome the challenges, they have to do something. They have to communicate. And how do humans communicate? They communicate through language, either verbal or non-verbal. So that explanation alone can tell you that B is not correct. It's not independent. It is actually quite dependent on other cognitive processes. And the third one is pretty much the same explanation as the second. So we can eliminate B and C. All right, so I hope it's clear to you. Please take note of the things or the key of the gist of what I explained. Now let's move on to the second question. Right, according to experts, how do language universals, okay, I hope that rings a bell to you, that word, universals, and I hope something pops in your mind when you hear that word, or a name of a famous theorist pops in your mind when you hear universals. The features that are found in all languages, so that's your language universals, provide insight into the nature of language. So I hope that when you hear universals or language universals, you always think of Noam Chomsky. Okay? Noam Chomsky. And you know what Noam Chomsky did, I hope. He's responsible for propounding or coming up with the idea of what? Universal grammar, the UG. Okay? Universal grammar. He's also known for coming up with the idea of LAD, which is language acquisition device, or at least he's the one who initiated the concept of LAD, right? So based on that, what is the best answer here? Okay, is it the first, the second, or the third? Okay, well, the correct answer here is the first one, by showing that all languages have similar structures. Okay, let me underline similar structures and functions. Now, what does the term, or what does the phrase mean? Similar structures and functions. So, for example, Filipino language, does it have similarity with English? Of course it has. It has a subject. So Filipino also has subject in Tagalog, or in, if we translate that, we have what's this? What's the Tagalog of subject, by the way? Okay, I'm not a Filipino teacher. I forgot all of a sudden. So my memory is not working. I'm sorry. I just came from work. So there's a panaguri. Okay, panaguri is the predicate, right? Panaguri. So there's a that's also predicate in English. So there's so both languages have similarity. They both have the concept of subject. They both have the concept of verb, or the predicate, which is an action. They also have concepts of the receiver, of a doer. So these languages have similarities or commonalities. Now, what do we mean by the second choice? By demonstrating that all languages have unique features. Demonstrating that all the languages have unique features. All languages have unique features? That is, maybe some languages have unique features, but not all languages. So be careful with the word all. Okay? Yes, it's true that some languages have unique features that cannot be found in other languages. But based on the wording, it says all, so we can eliminate that. Okay? Next, by proving that all languages have the same grammar rules. So you mean to say English and Filipino have the same grammar rules? You sure about that? Have the same grammar rules? Is English and Russian, or do English and Russian languages have the same grammar rules? Okay, so you can already have a feel that this choice is not correct. I mean, just based on your experience. That's why many people are having a hard time learning another language, because they don't follow the same rules. Okay? So, the correct answer here is the first. Next, if languages evolve over time, as scholars suggest, how do they change? So here we are talking about language change. Okay? So language changes over time due to a lot of factors. One of them, social. One is cultural. One is historical. So those domains all influence the fact that language or languages change. Okay? Now, based on these factors, what do you think is the best answer here? Is it So how does the language, or how do languages change? Is it through pronunciation? Is it the loss of words and phrases? Is it all the options, or adding new words and phrases? Okay, let's assess first. Changing the pronunciation of words, is that a manifestation of language change? Of course it is. When you change the pronunciation of words, that means the original pronunciation did not become stable. Why is that? Well, because perhaps some other speakers from other cultures are having difficulty pronouncing the words, and so what they do is finding ways to simplify the pronunciation until that group of people establish their own understanding or their own pronunciation. And so that group of people will have their own, we call that the variety of pronunciation. And for that group of people, that is acceptable. That is correct. Okay? So changing of pronunciation is part of language change, so we can check that. The third one, the loss of words and phrases. Right. Well, imagine Latin. Some Latin words, and some ethnic languages which have not been used by the members of the community, because some of them have to go to the city, find work, and so they have to use the language of that city, so they're not able to practice the language in their ethnic communities anymore. And that's why some of the words have gotten lost, especially if the number of that community is very small, or if they all go extinct, which happened historically. Some civilizations have gone extinct, and so the language also died. So this one is part of language change. And how about this? Adding new words and phrases. Oh, this happens all the time. We have millennials and zennials who keep on inventing new phrases and new expressions. And definitely adding something new is part of language change. So the correct answer here is all the options. All right. Number 4. According to behaviorists, how do children acquire language? Okay, I hope this is very easy for you. We are talking about behaviorism here. We know B.F. Skinner. We have Watson. We also have Pavlov. So some of the known behaviorists who contributed to the understanding of language acquisition. The question is, if you're a behaviorist, what do you think of language acquisition in children? So is it the first one, learning grammar rules and vocabulary? Okay. Is it second, exposing children to language in the environment? Or is it B, imitating the speech of others? So the key to answering this question is, again, underlining some of the key words. Okay. First, grammar rules, vocab. Next, exposure to language. Next, imitating the speech. Which do you think among the three is the best or the closest to the idea of behaviorism? Okay? Is learning grammar rules and vocabulary part of behaviorism? Well, yes, of course. It can also be part of behaviorism. So maybe we can put a question mark here. Okay. How about the second, by being exposed to language in their environment? Exposure to language in environment, well, it's also possible, right? Because remember, when we talk of behaviorism, it's there's a definition that it must be contained in an environment. So that is also possible. And how about the third, imitating the speech or imitation? Well, we know that behaviorism emphasizes on the teacher telling something to the student follows. So it's like mirroring each other. You repeat after me. That's a notable behaviorist activity in the classroom. So we can say that this is not a question mark, but more of a check mark. Okay? Now the question is, what is the best answer, best choice? The best choice here is the third one, imitating the speech of others. Okay? Because when you say imitate, that means to say you are relying on someone to follow. So you probably listen to the input and then you repeat what the person says, and it's assumed that when you're able to repeat it several times, then you have learned the language. And that's a classical behaviorist theory. Learning grammar rules and vocabulary, it's more of cognitive, okay? Because rules are abstract concepts as well as vocabulary. So you have to process the input using your cognition, okay? Again, memory, perception, problem solving, those are cognitive processes. This is the second one, exposure to language. So this is more of social interactionism, okay? In the environment, because you have to be with other people and socialize with them. So correct answer is the third one. Okay. Next, if Mr. Tabalanza were a cultural ecological theory, how would he view culture? Okay. Is it your first time to encounter cultural ecological theory? So first of all, what is a cultural ecological theory, if I may ask? All right, can you type in the chat box what you think is that? So they say that this theory explains that language emerges out of the need of people to survive and to reproduce in a particular environment. So they have a need to survive and reproduce, and because they have those needs, they really have to use a tool. The tool for them to communicate, tool for them to achieve those goals. So in short, that's the meaning of cultural ecological theory as related to language acquisition. Okay, now based on that, what is the best answer? What is the best answer here? What do you think? The best answer here is the what? Second. This is the best answer. Culture is shaped by the relationship between people and their physical environment. Okay? People, relationship between people and their physical environment. Because, again, they have a need to survive and reproduce. Survive and reproduce. How can they survive if they are alone in the wild? They need a group of people to help them survive the dangers of wild animals and beasts and the elements. They also need other people to reproduce. How can they reproduce on their own? They're not flowers, I suppose, right? So that's why this is the best answer. Of course, the first one is fixed. It says it is fixed. Okay? Unchanging entity. Okay? So this one is the opposite of cultural ecological theory. The theory says that you need people, you need others to survive and reproduce, and therefore your culture will definitely change based on your contact with others. And then the third one, it's a neutral concept, meaning to say it's neither pro or con, Positive, negative, it's just like an objective thing. Well, not necessarily, because you're dealing with people. And people have concepts of right and wrong, of good and bad. And therefore, you cannot be like a fence sitter, not deciding whether you are going to side with B or side with A. So this is not the correct answer. All right, let's go to number 6. If Mr. Tabalanza were a cultural essentialist, sorry, this should be a theorist, okay? Not theory. Okay? If I were a cultural essentialist, how would I view culture? So first, what is this thing, cultural essentialism? Cultural essentialism as related to the learning of language or language acquisition. Okay, well, when you say cultural essentialism or the theory of cultural essentialism, we're talking about culture as something that is not changing, or something that's stable, something that's fixed. Okay, the one that we encountered in number 5. So what does it imply to our choices here? Of course, it's already there. Fixed and unchanging entity. So you can write in your notes when you say cultural essentialism, meaning culture is fixed or fixed culture. Okay, so meaning to say, no, it cannot be influenced by other variables anymore or by other people. So perhaps this is one of the reasons why there are discriminations and there are, prejudices among some groups of people because they think that their culture or their race is the best, and that in their culture is correct all the time. So they have a fixed mindset. They do not see that other cultures might also be, might also offer something new and unique to improve the other's culture. Okay, so let's now, so of course B is not correct because it's the opposite, dynamic. And the neutral, again, it's not neutral because we are dealing with people. When it comes to cultural essentialism, it also deals with people which are governed by their emotions, so they cannot be remain neutral. All right, let's go to 7. If Mr. Tabalanza were an advocate of linguistic universals, okay, we encountered this term already, of language acquisition, how would he propose that children learn language? Okay, so this is an application question. How would he propose that children learn language? Is it reinforcement? Again, what is universal? That all languages have similar structures, right? Okay. So when you say reinforcement and imitation, what are we referring here? We are referring here to behaviorism. Sorry, behavior. Apologize for my handwriting. It's so beautiful you can't read it. Okay, the second, innate knowledge of universal grammar. There you go. You see, there's already the word universal grammar. And linguistic universals, that term is propounded by Noam Chomsky, who's also known to be a nativist. Native, meaning to say that children have a native or innate ability to learn a language even without formal instruction. So meaning to say they're endowed, or they're already, the moment they're born, they have the ability to process and learn language. That's the meaning of linguistic universals or nativism. And then the third one, exposure to language. So again, this, when you say exposure, we're referring to social interactionism. Social interactionism, SI. So based on that, the best answer here is, of course, the second one. Okay? So if you may have noticed, some of the questions are just being repeated, but they are just reworded. So as a reviewee, it must be